Hey everyone, before we dive in, just a quick note. The views and opinions shared by our guests on Reset Critical are their own and don't necessarily reflect those of the institutions they represent, the host, producers, or any of our partners or sponsors. Some episodes touch on sensitive topics, so listener discretion is advised. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Reset Critical, a podcast where we try to level set and bring some sanity and compassion to public conversations that have gone off the rails, been weaponized, misrepresented, or misunderstood. I'm your host, Niaz Kasravi. Today, I'm doing something a little different. This is a short solo episode, just me, sharing some thoughts I've been holding close about a conversation that I feel a deep need to reset. It's about Iran. Iran is where I was born. It's where I spent my childhood. And like so many in the diaspora, it's a place that never really leaves you, no matter how far away you are. For the last 2 decades, my work has focused primarily on justice advocacy and civil rights here in the United States. Even though my academic work examined women's rights in Iran and the role in the reform movement, my public voice has largely stayed rooted in my professional field. My support for Iranians has often focused on humanitarian organizations doing the hard, unglamorous work of delivering food, medical care, and basic support to people inside of Iran. And for a long time, that felt like the most honest contribution I could make. But this moment feels different. I have been heartbroken by what's happening in Iran and by what's happening within our community here in the diaspora. What we are witnessing, by all credible accounts, is the largest massacre of Iranians by their own government since the 1979 revolution. Much of what we've seen is only the tip of the iceberg. The internet has been shut down, a shroud of darkness has been pulled tight, and while we're told the protests are over, I don't believe we've seen the end of the story. And like most of you, I want the same simple, profound things for Iran and its people. I want Iranians to be able to freely and democratically choose the government that represents them. I want open debate, real choice, and self-determination. I want women in Iran, brave, relentless women, to be free and equal. I want Muslims, Zoroastrians, Christians, Jews, Buddhists, Baha'is, and people of all faiths to be able to freely practice their faith. And I want Iranians to finally have the chance to live full, healthy, joyful lives after nearly half a century of brutality and theocracy. There's also things that I don't want. I don't want religious minorities treated as second-class citizens, the way my family was. I don't want children coming home from school in tears like my sister and I did because they're taught that they will go to hell because they follow a different religion. I don't want a theocracy, a system where one religion, as interpreted by a small group, rules with an iron fist. And I don't want women of any faith to be told what they can or cannot wear. These views are not new. My close friends know them well, but many of you have asked where I stand, and I felt that it was time to say it out loud. Beyond grief and outrage, I want us to pause and ask a much harder question. What is the role of the diaspora in moments like this? I have been deeply disappointed by the infighting that erupts every time Iranians rise up to demand basic human rights. Watching members of our community tear each other apart, questioning motives and accusing one another of loyalty to the brutal regime, or some other faction without any evidence and solely based on their different views. It breaks my heart. And here's the reality. What we mostly have in the diaspora are opinions. Yes, we can advocate for policies that, for example, help Iranians access the internet. Yes, we can amplify the voices of those inside Iran when they're being silenced. And yes, we can and must bear witness. But the battle we wage against each other is almost always about beliefs and strategies. If people don't believe it's right to have regime change prompted by those outside of Iran, it doesn't mean they support this regime. Believing in diplomacy does not make someone a regime apologist, quote unquote. Opposition to foreign invasion does not mean indifference to suffering. That term, regime apologist, has become such a weapon, a term that is carelessly thrown around when someone disagrees with you. And it's doing far more harm than we seem willing to admit. When we're divided, others step in. Foreign powers, political factions, and imperial interests, many of whom care far less about freedom for the Iranian people than their own agenda. And all of that becomes a distraction from the people who are actually paying the price. If we truly believe in a free and democratic Iran, we have to practice these principles among ourselves. There is no democracy without disagreement, no freedom without space for different views, and no future if every difference is met with accusation and exile. And if you hear nothing else that I say today, hear this. There is no future for a people who do not love one another. And we have to work on that. Our actions must reflect respect. Our disagreements must leave room for dignity. And we must start from the belief that most of us want the same thing, even when we differ on how to get there. Here's hoping for better days ahead for Iran, for Iranians, and for all people living under oppression and violence. Thank you for listening. I hope you take this conversation into your world and reset what you can. Please follow Reset Critical on social media and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time, stay hopeful. Thanks for tuning in to Reset Critical. Remember, the opinions you heard today belong to our guests and don't necessarily reflect the views of the institutions they represent, the host, producers, or our sponsors and affiliates. Mentions of products or organizations aren't endorsements. We're here to spark ideas and dialogue. Until next time, take care and keep thinking critically.